Alright, so I got some help. I got Jay here. He's officially on the internet. And we're gonna take out one bolt each on these carrier bearings. Don't you tell me that that broke. That one was seized in there. I'm going to take out one on this one. Damn. Here we go. Alright, you got it. Down and out your way.
Watch your head.
Alright, right here. Whew. Thanks, sir. Okay. Alright, we're going to get my buddy Jack in here. And just support the rear of this transmission so we can get this cross member just temporarily out of the way. Take a little bit of the weight there. We've got two 18s here, and then we still have these one on each side holding it in here. Alright. Ow. Now we can get our exhaust out of here. Can't quite. There we go. So those are 15s, I believe. We're going to crack off of there. Go ahead and you don't want to hit those with a 2 to spray. I honestly should have let those soak last night. $15s? Yep, 15s. Got a universal on there. Oh, sorry about that. I know right now the people from the north are cussing me. How easy that's coming out. And I'm sorry. That one's pretty much loose. Let's find the easiest way to get to this guy. Just for reference, this is where I'm at. Finish her off. Anyways. Alright, so we got that guy out of the way. We're just going to leave that guy on a few threads to avoid a trip to the hospital. And now I'm just going to use the long extension just because, well, you people are in the way. That's alright, I like you people. I'm just going to work over your shoulder. So I'm not going to take that one all the way off, because right now there's only 2 nuts and it's kind of resting on the rear exhaust pipe. So I have to go recruit some help again to get this thing on out of here. Alright, so let's recap where we are. Our exhaust is now out of the way. Now you can get a really good look at that broken exhaust stud that we have. I think I have a few more that are broken, but that one for sure is broken. We'll see how the other ones come out. If I can get to them all, this engine might stay in and I'll just do all the work inside chassis, because I have a lot of room to get to that one right now, so that's pretty nice. We're gonna get that starter pushed back and out of the way. We're gonna get this wiring harness off. This heat shield needs to come off so we can get to the one big connector that hooks up to this transmission. There's that, and then there is this bundle of wires that comes over the top. It's held in with a bolt right here, but you can just pop it off there. But this bolt does need to come off because it also holds a bracket for these evap lines. We have to take out this bolt and pull off our lines. There is going to be fluid. This bracket here, and then after that, after you take out the torque converter bolts, which we can access through the starter hole, after you take off the torque converter bolts, take off the bell housing bolts, and this whole transmission is good to come on back. You can see our pile of parts. It's adding up. These two back here, which are 13. Drop the stuff. Now you can see a connector that plugs into this guy. It just flips up, and that's pretty much every wire for the transmission right there. This is where you do all your testing for your ohms on your solenoids and whatnot. Like I said, there's a bolt right up here. I'm gonna say it's a 15. Ratcheting wrench comes in real handy there, and then everything will just stay up there out of our way when we drop the transmission. The service manual will tell you to take the transmission lines completely out when removing this, and you do not need to do that. The lines are very pliable. Just push them out of the way just as far as you need, and they pretty much stay there. No sense in taking the... Alright. Now I can pop this line out of the way. It comes from the factory. The crap tons of Loctite on it, by the way. I got my drain pan underneath here. You'll want to as well. Ooh, look at that fluid. God, that, oh God, it smells so burnt. Like burnt bad potatoes. I don't know, that's the best description I got. You be the judge. Now we can get our shifter cable out of the way. Shifter cable. Man, those didn't rip out here as much as I thought they would either. Man, fluid. Black, barely any red left to it. Which, don't get me wrong, the 6R80, its fluid already turns black, but it smells god-awful, and they shouldn't do that. The 6R80's fluid turns black a lot quicker than older transmissions, so don't go off just the color. But I can tell you this one slips, especially in reverse for some reason. Alright, I put the transmission cross member back in place temporarily with a bolt on each side, just so I can get my tranny jack in here. We're going to work on getting the starter out of the way. And it has a nice little hole for it to tuck in out of the way right there. And it's, if I'm not mistaken, there's an inspection cover right there that I'll get pictures of. And we can bar this engine over by hand and get to the torque converter bolts through that inspection cover. This has got little rubber snap ends that hold it in there. And see, there's one of the torque converter bolts right there through that inspection cover. Alright, how about now? There we go. Come on. Come here. Don't you fall in there. There's 4. I do believe it's only 4. I'll just go look at the new transmission and tell you. Yeah, it's 4. I hear it clinking around now. Yep, got us an empty stud there. So, it's just 4. Alright, let's get that tranny jack in here. Sorry, first, to make it easy on ourselves, because the tranny jack really gets in the way, we're going to go ahead and remove some of the fasteners. That are going to be harder to get to with the tranny jack in your way. That's a short one. That's a short one. Alright. Now we got our chains on. They're tight and secure. We can get our cross member out of the way. Top 1, 2 bolts. 3 bolts. 3 bolts up there. This one. Alright. This one, remember, holds your shift cable off the transmission. There's that one. More than I got. I went ahead and pulled that vent line off before I forgot. It'll give you quite a bit more room. Get your extension in there. go. Put my head on stuff. It's great. Come on. Come on. Wonderful. There we go. And the socket's still up there somewhere. Oh, sorry, two. Forgot there's two that go hold it in by the starter. There's this one and this one right here. Oh, I'm gonna take a wrench. I forgot. All the bolts are the same size except for these two right here that go by the starter. They're just a little bit shorter. Forgot all about that. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Now she's loose. I don't know if you saw that kind of part or not. Alright, so we're just gonna take her on back a bit. Looks like we need to go up a here, tilt forward a bit, kind of binding a bit. Motor wants to tilt forward. Torque converter's hanging up on that top bolt. He went down a bit. Out of the way. See why this guy does not want. There we go. Jammed sideways in there. Oh. There she is. Don't forget this guy. You'll regret it. Alrighty, now we can get to that rear main seal. These magnetic sockets are nice sometimes. If we're looking at a rear main seal leak or a oil pan leak. It doesn't really matter because the area that it's leaking from is from where the rear main seal plate attaches. This plate right here is where the rear main seal is pressed into. And don't forget this guy. You forget this guy when you go back together, you'll really hate life. It looks like we have had a little bit of seeping, but it looks like the leak is actually coming from right there. It's not the actual seal leaking, it's the plate where it attaches. You can see where it's been coming down or running down inside here. So we'll get that taken care of. It's not the end of the world, but it was going to get replaced no matter what with the rear main seal. But now you take out your crank sensor, that's where you're... Alright, it's a new day. We're going to get getting this rear main seal taken care of. First thing we're going to do is take off this little shield that's next to the turbo so we can get that crank sensor out of our way. I imagine it would be a bit of a bear to have to replace that crank sensor with everything in the way. I've never had to do it. Crank sensor out of the way. And again, Ford wants you to throw away all these bolts. Don't ask me why. They're not torque to yield. Alright, there's all those guys out of the way. And this is siliconed on, so we're going to have to gently pry away to not bend this thing. There's a little bit of a shelf over here that you can use to get started. Indexable pry bars. Really nice here. Now you want to be careful, just take it a little bit at a time. Get a little bit broken loose and then go on to the next part. It's going to want to hinge away from this. See if I can get a, you don't want to hurt that gasket surface. There we go. Seal the brake. Right here, I think there's a dowel pin. Yeah, there's a dowel pin right here. It is. There we go. Holding on to it. There we go. There's your crankshaft. And this right here is probably where we were leaking from. Right here. And it was getting slung out around the starter, and you can see it swelling over here, but you can see it was coming down on the inside here. So it wasn't the actual seal that was leaking, even though we're still going to replace it, because we're here just replace the $5 seal, but it was actually this plate that was leaking. So we're going to get this guy cleaned up. We're going to clean up this gasket surface real well. Now you're going to need to take very good care, because my fingers are inside the oil pan right now. See? Still got oil in it. So we're going to pack this area and all these little valleys when we clean off this gasket material to make sure that we do not drop down material in there. And you need to count your towels. We're going to do this surgery style. We're going to count how many paper towels that we stuff in here. We're going to write it down right there, And then we're going to make sure when we go back in that we have that many towels, because the last thing you want is a paper towel down there on your oil inlet trashing your whole engine. Now, I don't normally do this, but this is a tip for you guys that aren't used to doing engine work and you don't want to mess it up. This is an extra step to make sure that you don't. So let me get some paper towels. All right, got me some nice new clean shop towels. There's one that we're gonna put right there. Now I've got 1, 2, 3. But for right now, I'm gonna need to put right here. And then I'm gonna clean. I'm gonna spread that out. We're going to do this bottom part last, where it meets the oil pan. So we have 4 in so far. Four towels, right? 4 squares. And I'm going to clean this part off, put a little tape over it, that way none of our gasket material goes flying into it that way. This little area off, that way the masking tape will stick, so we don't have anything go flying in there. Now Ford says you can use the white 3M Rolox to clean gasket material, but I still recommend you do it nice and slow. Do not go removing any aluminum. I honestly hate this rear main seal design. I don't understand why it had to be this way. I guess because they do these cross-bolted mains, which, you know, I get, that's cool. Makes for a really strong, see these 2 bolts right here? They go into your main caps, and you have 2 bolts holding your main caps in. So you have 4 bolts in each main cap, which makes for a really strong bottom end, but I feel like we could have found a way around this kerfuffle. Okie doke, let's get to cleaning this gasket material. First, we'll just start with a smooth scraper. Helps to soften this stuff up a little bit, and I don't care if any brake cleaner gets down in the oil, because this oil is getting changed right before we start it. So we'll start just gently scraping some of this stuff away. Okay, so we've got the majority of the gasket material off. Now you could, just with, you know, a good rag and some brake parts cleaner, get the rest of this schmutz off, and then you could not have to use this bristle disc at all. Here's why I think Ford keeps having a sealing problem on their oil pans and on their timing covers and everywhere that they've been sealing. Ford's been leaking like crazy lately, and here's why I think so. You can tell that these machine surfaces, see if I can get you a better shot real quick. See if I can pick it up in the camera light. You can see where a fly cutter cut those machine surfaces, right? And if you don't know what a fly cutter is, go ahead and Google it. But it uses either a carbide or a high-speed tool steel bit, and it's on a spinning head, and it makes this nice and flat. Now, a lot of other manufacturers out there will come behind with a machine that just roughs up the metal a little bit on where the aluminum gasket surfaces meet. And that's great because that gives the adhesive something to bite into. When anybody who's machined aluminum will tell you, when you machine aluminum, it gets a work glazing on the top of it. A lot of the times that's sought after because it looks really nice on some parts, but on gasket surfaces that's not sought after because we have an aluminum block interfacing with a steel plate. They expand at different rates. And that silicone should keep up with the differences and make up for it. But the problem is if that's too slick for it to hold on to, what you're doing is you're slowly working that silicone back and forth until eventually it's going to break away from that or this, one or the other. Now this has a, you can probably see in the camera light, it's almost got like this sandblasted texture. It grabs to this way better than it does to that. I mean, look how much more gasket material is stuck to this than was stuck to the block. So I say all that to say this: I go ahead and very lightly use the white roll lock bristles at low speed just to put a nice scuff on that material and get rid of that machine glazing, because the camera's really not picking it up well, but some parts I can almost see my hand in the reflection of the metal. And that's just after just scraping it. That's too shiny for gasket material to fucking stick to. You know, Ford's been giving you these special baby wipes to clean the surface with, and they want you to use their special sealant that they're improving the formula of. I used the right stuff from Permatex, and I hit it with this, and it doesn't leak anymore. And I didn't need a PhD in engineering to tell me that you need a nice texture surface for silicone to stick to. So we're just gonna really easily, I'm gonna try to use the away side. That way I don't knock more stuff towards the crank. And I'll get you a shot there where you can see, yeah, the camera's not picking it up very well, where I've hit and where I haven't, how much shinier it is there versus there. So it just gives the silicone something a little bit better to hold to. Feel free to chime in. What do you think? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you also believe that it's kind of crazy how much Fords have been leaking lately? I've got the 6.7 right now that I need to do an oil pan on. I've had several of these front covers, several of these rear seals go. It just seems like this is a ridiculous problem to have with today's sealing technologies. It feels like we're taking a step back. Okay, so we took out 3 rags, so we marked it. We need to be very careful on this part. We need to scrape everything this way towards us, so we don't knock anything in the oil pan. Now I promise you something's still going to go down into this oil pan. But what I'm going to do after I do the front cover and after I do this, I'm going to drain the oil. That'll hopefully flush anything else out. And then I'm going to pour some EPR and a couple of quarts of clean oil in, and that'll help flush the sludge off the bottom of the pan and any, you know, tiny little bits that may have come in out. And then, you know, it's silicone, so it's not the end of the world. If it does get sucked up, it'll get chopped up and caught by the oil filter. But still, we try to keep this as sterile as possible. Alright, so as you can see, we've got that pretty nice and clean. Got a little bit more touch up to do, but I'm not going to bore you with that. But you got to get it to that point, and I'm going to rough up this oil pan gasket surface just a bit, very gently. Just putting a nice little scuff on it. I'm gonna go ahead and take this out. Do this part by hand. I'll probably just take some finer grit sandpaper and just scuff it just slightly. Like I said, the goal is not to remove material, but to just put a slight texture on the aluminum. Got some 320 grit sandpaper, and guys, I'm using the lightest of pressure. I'm just putting some little scratches in the aluminum for the silicone to hold on to. Our brake parts cleaner. We still need to use the little prep wipes. Right now we're just getting all the engine oil out of the way. I will clean this several times, and then after it's clean, the surface is sterile. Nothing touches it but gasket sealer. Alright, so this is our new housing with our seal in it. I like to pack the garter spring groove with engine assembly lube. That way when it goes in, that spring can't accidentally pop out and cause a rear main seal leak. It also helps it slide over the crankshaft. I've got some acetone here. I've washed my hands too. Got some acetone here. I'm going along the entire gasket surface. And then we're going to hit the gasket surface one more time on the engine with some acetone. You can see still pulling a little bit of stuff off, so we'll get a nice clean mating surface there. And then we're going to do a 5mm bead of silicone around this whole thing. We're going to go inside the bolt holes, and then we're going to loop around the outside as well. And right before we put it on, we're going to put a glob of 5mm glob on each corner on the block itself, and then we'll tip this thing on in there. So I am not using the Motorcraft stuff. I'm using the right stuff from Permatex, and this is good stuff. I also did not use the Motorcraft surface prep wipes, because I really feel that they're trying to invent the wheel on making good gasket surface texture. Instead of just adding a step in their engine assembly plant of texturing the surface of their gasket material, they decide to try to make a new chemical compound that can stick to shiny metal. And in the manual, they literally try to scare tactic you in with using anything other than genuine Motorcraft sealant could cause engine oil to foam and cause engine damage. That is a new one on me. Hit those corners real well. And like I said, we'll go around each bolt hole. That's probably a little bit more than 5mm, but I'm not real worried about it. Right where it leaked last time. clean that up one more time because, man, cannot be contaminated. Clean side of the rag one more time. Just wipe the whole thing down. Like I said, we're gonna get you guys a little bit better see there. I'm gonna put about a 5mm glob right here in the corner. Because they obviously know it's going to leak from there, because it did. Just going to take some of this engine assembly lube off of my seal here. And just lube that seal journal. That way this guy will hopefully pop on without any protest. And you're going to want to rock it in. So we're going to set the bottom down, kind of push it in. Get your seal started. You have to use your fingers to do that. Just push it on in. Give it a firm push. And here, just for illustrative purposes, to make it easy for the video, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we're going to torque all these guys to 89 inch-pounds. Alright, and then we do these two guys to 89 inch-pounds and then 45 degrees, which I know sounds like a torque yield bolt, but I promise they're not. Alright. Oh no, we went to 46 degrees. Alright, now we can put our wee little sensor back in. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to go ahead and put the transmission back in, because I've decided I'm not going to take this engine out, mainly because I don't have a free engine stand right now. So I'll just do all the work inside here, and plus it'll probably make for a better video. But the transmission should not get in the way too much. I might go ahead and try to take the turbos off and get that out of the way, because it looks like it'd be a lot easier to do without the transmission in the way. Shield back on. It's a bit of a bear to get out of there. Huh. Went in easy though. One bolt and one nut. So I hope you don't think that was too bad. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal for me because I've done 100 of these, but I remember the first time I did it on one of these, it was a little daunting, without a lift anyway. Camera. Camera. Alright, we'll get this tightened up and then we'll go ahead and throw the flex plate back on, and for God's sakes, don't forget the tone ring. Alright. If you are looking at this and you're wondering why 2 teeth are missing, that's what lets it know where one of the cylinders is. I don't want to tell you which one and be a liar. Stuck to my flywheel. Okay. Let's see what the torque on those guys is. The manual tells to put the flex plate on or thing on now, but you don't have to because it's got a cut in it. You can put it in later, and trust me, things just gonna keep falling off on you. It's gonna drive you friggin' nuts. These all get torqued to 59 foot-pounds, and you tighten them like a wheel. If that makes sense. Here. I did it on one. Why don't I do it on this one too? 1, 2. Oh, they don't do exactly like a wheel. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know what cracks me up? Ford doesn't want you to replace those bolts. All the bolts they'd want to be replaced. I could actually kind of understand those, but nope, you can reuse those. They don't want you to replace them. Alright, I'm just going to run through that one more time in a circle. You gotta leave your mark. Well folks, I'm gonna end that part of the video right here. I'm not gonna put in the transmission yet, just because it's gonna be in the way of the exhaust manifolds. I'm gonna break it into another part here. Next, we're gonna be taking off this whole front end. You don't have to do that to do the front cover. But I just got knee surgery, and I'm honestly using my knee already way more than I'm supposed to. Luckily, my wife doesn't watch these videos. So I'm going to get the front cover off. That way I have to do a whole lot less bending over and, you know, all that good stuff and hyperextending my knee. And it makes it a lot better for the video. And plus the front cover, the whole front on these is super easy to take off. This core support comes right off. And then I can do everything standing up at face level and try to, instead of trying to fish that whole front cover up and in. I mean, the radiator and the AC condenser already have to come out to do the front cover. And once all that's out of the way, man, it's just a little bit more work to get this guy out of your way. And you have so much more room, and that'll really help with doing those exhaust manifold bolts. So, catch you guys on the next video. Should be coming out not long after the end of this one. And like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one.